Picture this. You meet someone new, and so, of course, you introduce yourself. I'm quite sure that we've all been in such a situation before. Here's the thing though. Whenever I go to introduce myself, I'm met with a puzzled face and a multitude of questions. Now, these aren't the questions that you'd quite expect. It's never, how old are you, or what's your favorite food? No. The question is always, is there an easier name, or could you repeat that? Now, to put this into perspective for you, my name is Nyakara Morara. In this day and age, it's quite rare to meet someone, especially someone my age, who exclusively goes by their ethnic name. Now, this is no surprise. Some people, or most people, are afraid to use these names as they don't want to be perceived as too different or too uncool, maybe even too unprofessional. Such ideologies stem from long-lasting colonial legacies. Back in the 19th and early 20th centuries, when European nations began their conquest of assimilation of the Southern Hemisphere, they instilled this dogma into the minds of our ancestors, the one that states that the only good and righteous things in life originate from the Western world. Now, back in those days, our ancestors fought back. They were not at all willing to give up the culture that they had cultivated for generations. But the colonists retaliated, and they imposed strict penalties and death sentences for whoever refused to follow their rules. They made it so that every single child in the native reserve schools had an easy to pronounce Christian name, an English name. Now, this name change warped the perception of those young children who then grew up to become our great-grandparents and grandparents. Given that they had witnessed the atrocities that came about as consequences of using ethnic names, they became staunch believers in the superiority of Western ones. Now, these are the same doctrines that they instilled into the minds of their children, and this created this ripple effect whereby nowadays we truly believe that Western names are indeed better, but we have no reasons as to why we believe this is fact. Now, whilst thinking about this topic, I often recall a poem by the Indian poet Sujata Bhatt. In her poem, A Different History, she emphatically concludes with the line, "And the unborn grandchildren grew to love that strange language." This is an extremely relevant line as we are those unborn grandchildren, and we have indeed grown to love that strange language, English, to the point where we are ashamed of our native ones and the names that are used to showcase pride for these dialects. I come from two different African communities, the Kisii community here in Kenya and the Ashanti community in Ghana. Now, both these communities, like many others, have unique naming systems. In the Kisii community, names depend on your ancestral lineage or the season you were born or even the time of day you were born. In the Ashanti community, naming primarily depends on the day of the week you were born. I was born on a Sunday, so my traditional Ashanti name would be Akosia. Now, due to my dual heritage, my parents decided to name me after both my maternal and paternal great-grandmothers in order to honor their legacies. So my traditional Kisii name is Nyakara, and my traditional Ashanti name is Prempe. Now, we ought to use our traditional names in order to ensure the continuity of such beautiful cultural practices. I'm quite sure that most of us have heard of the late scholar Ngugi wa Thiong'o. In 1970, this titan of modern African literature decided to change his name from James Ngugi to Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Now, he did this not only to stay true to his belief of decolonizing the mind, as was the title of his 1986 anthology, but he also did this to prove to his fellow Africans that the use of your traditional name does not in any way diminish nor undermine your success. And he proved this true, as Ngugi wa Thiong'o was propelled into greater heights of stardom as a fully fledged African academic by the use of his ethnic name. And he's not alone in this use of traditional names. Lupita Nyong'o, Barack Obama, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the list goes on. None of these prominent African figures has had their success dimmed by the use of their traditional name. Now, this inferiority complex isn't exclusively an African issue. Around the world, from Serbia to Peru to New Zealand, names are changed and forgotten every single day because nobody wants to stand out. Everyone wants to fit the status quo. But regardless of where you come from, you should be proud of your heritage. Use your name to show the world that you belong and that you know where you come from. Now, some of you might still be a bit reluctant to use your ethnic names. Perhaps it has a unique spelling or a peculiar pronunciation which might seem odd to others. Our forefathers died to protect the names that we now despise, belittle, and ignore. It's quite ironic if you ask me. We now have the chance to use our traditional names to honor and ease the spirits of those long departed souls, but we choose not to. We instead choose to use names that have no intrinsic value nor meaning to us. There are no consequences of using your ethnic name today. You will not be persecuted, nor arrested, nor slaughtered like those who came before you, so really, the only thing stopping you is you. So today, I urge you to use your ethnic name unapologetically as the most valid form of self-expression and cultural reclamation to inspire future generations to shamelessly be their true and authentic self. After all, names should be used for cultural celebration and recognition and not for domination or subjugation. Thank you.